This new Titan Arc Thundercrash build slaps everything. I mean, you can just sit there and electrocute champions and bosses like you're some sort of lightning god. You'll be able to run around chaining high DPS arc damage around you at a whole new level. I mean, come on, I've been waiting 3 seasons for this build to come out, so I can finally make use of some good old exotics again. But do I use Cuirass, or do I use Heart of Inmost Light, or do I use Wormgod Caress, or Synthoceps, or do I just use them all and swap builds out for certain activities? Well guys, whether you want to punch ads in the face, melt bosses and champions, or add clear like crazy, I think you Titans have got it all, and this is your season to plunder. So guys, if you find this one useful, then be sure to leave a rating, comment, subscribe and share for more, as it really helps me out. And now quickly before we start, let's first check out our sponsor. Today we are sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. You gotta love Raid. Raid is one of the top RPG mobile games. Now Raid has over 600 cool champions that you can use from loads of different factions. A few champions I really like are from the Dark Elves faction and the Undead Hordes. But what I like most is that every faction has a set style and theme to it, and the graphics itself is just purely insane, especially for a mobile game. And this month, Raid has a huge schedule of special events and activities, including Forge Pass Season 3, where there'll be a ton of rewards, a limited edition artifact set, new champions, and a really cool looking skin for Madame Ceres. I mean, look at that. You can't say that doesn't look good, right? But that's not all. Raid has upgraded the most favoured champion Death Knight to the ultimate Death Knight, and he's powerful. And if you log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and October 26, you'll be able to get that champion in your collections for completely free. And if you use my promo code DKRises, you'll be able to get your new strongest champion to level 50 instantly. So this is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on screen, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. This includes a free epic champion, Vergis, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so that you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here only for the next 30 days for new players. Just click my link in the description to get started, and I'll see you in the game. Now getting straight into the video, and as always, firstly I will mention that the new season 18 build playlist is linked down below if you want to see more build videos like this. But with this new build, you will be able to run around chaining your arc abilities infinitely, which works great not in just normal content but in endgame PvE content as well, because you will be buffing up that ability damage over time. But there are multiple ways you can use this build, so you don't have to use the same setup that I'm using. But with this build, we're going to focus around our abilities and making them as powerful as possible. So the way you'll effectively use this build is you'll start by dodging, or using your thruster rather, and then use your grenade to kill an ad. This will then buff our melee, and then you'll use that ability on the next group of ads, which will spawn an arc well. And when you get kills with your weapons, you'll spawn void wells. From here you'll just repeat the process by chaining between all 3 abilities, and the way this build is set up, you will be able to use all your abilities with almost a 100% uptime on at least one of them, so you should never really be waiting on any of your arc abilities to recharge. Ideally with your pulse grenade though, you'll want to use it on tougher ads, because this will generate us more ionic traces, which will then get us even more ability energy on top. So using this build in endgame PvE just works really well. Sometimes you might get close to death, which is why you just want to melee an enemy, and then that will trigger the health regen. Now getting straight into the setup of this build, the very first thing you're going to want to run is a good arc special weapon. It's fine if you can't run one, because the activity you're playing would make more sense for you to run something else. Like for me in that Lost Sector, I was using a bow. But for the best setup, depending on the activity you're playing, you want to run arc weapons, ideally a special weapon. For the subclass, we're going to use the Thundercrash. Absolutely love this super. Then we're going to use the new class ability, the thruster, so that we can evade, and I'm actually loving this ability a lot too. It's a shame you can't use it in the air, but this does remind me of the one you get in Halo a lot, and also feels exactly the same. But the melee we have is another new one called the Thunderclap, and the name of it just says it all. It literally destroys enemies. We also have the pulse grenade on, because these are one of the best grenades in the game, and you'll be using these all the time on tougher ads and champions. For the aspects, we have Touch of Thunder. Pulse grenades will create ionic traces as it damages targets and increases damage over time. Really good aspect to use. But we also have the knockout, where critically wounding a target or breaking a shield infuses your melee attack with arc energy and increases your range and damage for a short time. And then damaging targets with that melee will start health regen, as well as making you amplified. Now for the fragments, we have Spark of Shock, so that our arc grenades jolt targets, Spark of Magnitude, so that our pulse grenades can last longer, Spark of Resilience, where being surrounded by enemies will make us more resistant to incoming damage. This is going to be perfect since we are an arc ability build, but the last one is Spark of Beacons, where being amplified will make our arc special weapon final blows blind enemies nearby. Honestly, a really good and fun setup to use with the arc titans this season. When it comes to choosing the exotic, there's always going to be one specific exotic you want to go for when using an ability build, and that is going to be Heart of Inmost Light. But if you want to go all out super DPS, then you can use the Cuirass of the Fallen Star, but there's so many different exotics you can use with this build build like the Synthoceps and even Wormgod Caress if you want to go the melee route. But there's also Skullfort, Dunemarchers and Armentarium. Honestly, there's a load of different exotics you can use and they're all going to do a great job, but the one that we're going to use for this build today is going to be Heart of Inmost Light, because using an ability will empower the other abilities. Now I don't know what this does with the new Thruster ability, but either way we're going to be getting each ability back insanely fast. For the main mods, you'll want the Reaping Wellmaker to spawn Void Wells after using the Thruster, and then we'll use those wells picked up on Well of Tenacity to reduce the damage we take from combatants. Then we're also going to run the melee Wellmaker or a Elemental Ordnance, whichever you prefer, which will spawn in the Arc Wells. And then using those Arc Wells will improve our Arc Weapons damage with the Font of Might. If you're not using Arc Weapons, then swap this out to a Font of Wisdom instead. Otherwise, the last mod is going to be Radiant Light to give you plus 20 to the Strength stat, because you ideally want all 3 ability stats maxed out to 100 if you can. And this mod will require us to use an Arc mod as well, so that we can activate that secondary stat. For the normal mods, back in the helmet we have our ammo finder for our heavy weapon, but you can swap this out to a dynamo if you prefer the extra super energy instead. In the arms we have our grenade kickstart for the extra energy to our grenade. Use this or use the melee one, it's up to you. Otherwise make sure you have the champion mod you want on with that. Then in the chest we have our damage resist mods. Legs we have our scavenger mod again for the heavy weapon, and then lastly in the class we have surge detonators to stun overloads with our pulse grenades, because you'll want to use it on champions and bosses anyway, and then bad amplitude to cause champions to become jolted. If you're running this in a season other than this season, then you'll want to change these out to utility kickstart and a distribution for faster cooldowns. Although this season I'd be willing to slot on a Thunderous Retort to improve the super's damage, and this paired with Cuirass will actually make the super the second highest damaging super in the game. Now you could also go with Lightning Strikes twice, but for me I don't think we really need to go that far with our grenade recharge rate, although it's a good choice for those who have low discipline. But speaking of those stats, you will want to get resilience, discipline and strength to 100 if you can, in that specific order, to make this build the most effective it can be. Now overall I do like this build, and I have to say it's probably the best Titan build you're going to get right now for the Arc subclass this season, but if I'm being completely honest, it still doesn't come close to being as good as the Titan solo build with Lorelei and Restoration, which by the way you can still achieve just as good as last season, and I will have an updated build for that very soon, so stay tuned for that one. But this build is best used solo since it is an ability build, and you don't want to waste those abilities by having teammates stealing your kills. But do let me know below what exotic you decided to go with this one, because it's quite a hard choice for me going with either Heart of Inmost Light or the Cuirass of the Fallen Star, as both exotics are really good choices for endgame PvE. But guys, that about concludes the second build to the series for your new Titan Arc Thundercrash build in Destiny 2 Witch Queen Season of Plunder, or Season 18. Next, as always, remember to check out the new Season 18 build playlist for more amazing top and fun builds to use this season, and whatever you guys get up to, I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the next build video, because Warlocks, you're next.